the fact that like you just can fully trust, right? Do you know that feeling of like just fully
Mm,
trusting that everybody understands the mission and everybody is on board?
hmm
Just brings like an elevation of like where I then get to like think of other things more strategically and not be so focused on the day to day, which is what
hmm
like where I think that is like a high performing organization where we can kind of step it up. Everybody is like working at the right levels, understand the mission and are all working together. And then being me as an individual and them too, but all being in trust that this is going to happen. And then, I kind of can then step away and kind of be a little bit more strategic and see the bigger picture, have time to focus on the bigger picture, which is what like really excites me about putting teams
hmm
together.
Welcome to the Conscious Leadership Revolution podcast, where conscious leaders unite to unlock their highest potential so we can change the way the game is being played.
Welcome to the Conscious Leadership Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Susan Hobson, joined by my co-host. Yay! I always get so excited when you're not traveling these days.
Mm.
And we are just sitting here, us two, today because we realize it's been a minute since we put one another on the hot seat. And today, that hot seat is going to be you. First
Hmm.
and foremost, let me plug in to how you're doing, Tracy Ellen. What is going on in your busy world?
Yeah, it's good. It's really busy though. And yeah, it's been really fun. I mean, let me know my favorite part of any new job is just kind of setting up the organizations, which is always the most exciting part for me and the
Mm-hmm.
most intriguing and exciting and fun
Mm-hmm.
and meeting new people. So yeah, I've been in flow with that for a few weeks now and getting ready to close that out in the next week or so. So we're getting set up.
And I feel like this is such a conscious space for your leadership. I felt so called to really rip this wide open with you because, yeah, you just accepted this new role. And this is exactly what you've been knee deep in, right, for the last
Mm.
couple of weeks. And I kind of feel like it really aligns with the space that a lot of our listeners might be navigating right now. We've been talking a lot about, the disruption on this show in terms of, yeah, just the AI that's finally here disrupting people's jobs. I know I'm in the trenches with leaders. There's a lot of uncertainty right now in the ethers. And so, what better time for us to talk to you about how you consciously navigate this process in terms of identifying this high performance talent? I thought we could pull the curtains back and really see what mindset strategies you're eliciting in this space right about now.
Yeah. I think I get really, really pumped about like the possibilities of a high performing organization, right? And like I
Hmm
know I've done it a few times and I just love the way it feels when, everybody's in the right roles at the right time in the right place and they're
hmm
all super clear on their expectations and they're working together and they're all super, the dynamics are really good and like really everybody's like so excited to be there.
hmm
So I know the feeling because I've done it a few times and I get really excited when I get to do it all over again. And
You
this,
want to stop there and tell us
yeah,
about that first? So, what you're describing is how passionate you are about curating those high performance teams, right? And I know what you're talking about in terms of that feeling in a high performance locker room. It's like magic because it almost elicits this group flow, you know? And so, yeah, let's just like start there and plug into that. Like, what does that look like to you? A high performing team? Like, what are
mhm,
some of those indicators that show up on the play when we actually are able to curate that type of condition?
mhm. So for me anyway, what I kind of see is like the building on each other's ideas, right? When we get into a meeting and people throw out stuff and it's like, it's just like, it's a little seed and then it builds and it builds and it builds and everybody's pitching in and everybody's super excited and everybody's like supportive of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we come up with these big ideas and everybody just grabs a piece to go do. I'll take care of this. I'll take care of that. And then it's just, you see the momentum being created and you can see the cohesiveness between them and the support, right? They
Mm-hmm.
actually care about each other's work and they actually want to win together.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
find that like, that's like the basis for me in terms of what I look for. And like, I really truly believe that you have to pick people that actually complement each other. I'm really big on that, where I try to find people that I know would do great together, but also that are different in the sense
Mm-hmm.
of the way that they think
Mm-hmm.
and what they bring to the table so that we can maximize the ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that for me is like when I get into like a team and just like everybody super supportive, everybody's helping each other and everybody's building on each other's ideas. You just walk out and you go, wow, that was like massive. Like
Mm-hmm.
just like, you know, and we and then everybody goes to work and then we come back and then, you know, everybody's delivered what they're supposed to. And then you have this like epiphany of a new initiative and you're like, wow, like we delivered that. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty good, right?
The
Um,
co-creative condition
mhm.
is basically what you're curating there, right? In terms of that chemistry that leads to that exchange of resources collaboratively in this kind of one team, one dream, right?
Mhm.
Energy and mentality.
Mhm.
I absolutely agree. It's like that's the magic, right? In
Mhm.
terms of what you're able to build in terms of the possibilities.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think it's like just amazing when you can actually like see that flow in the meeting and then, you know, I love when I hear them like, oh, I just checked in with so and so and we worked out a plan or we met and we have a plan. You're just like, wow, like it's effortless. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
how
just
the flow state
effortless.
is, right?
Yeah.
It's not a force, it's a flow, and that's because there's full engagement is what you're essentially describing. Everybody bringing the best of what they got uniquely, and that diversity of perspective and strengths and skills and talents and attributes. But yeah, I think that's the metric for flow, isn't it? Is
Yeah,
that ease?
totally. Yeah. And like the fact that like you just can fully trust, right? Do you know that feeling of like just
Mm-hmm.
fully trusting that everybody understands the mission and everybody is on board?
Mm-hmm.
Just brings like an elevation of like where I then get to like think of other things more strategically and not be so focused on the day to day, which is what
Mm-hmm.
like where I think that is like a high performing organization where we can kind of step it up. Everybody is like working at the right levels, you know, understand the mission and are all working together. And then being me as an individual and them too, but all being in trust that this is going to happen. And then, you know, I kind of can then step away and kind of be a little bit more strategic and see the bigger picture, have time to focus on the bigger picture, which is what like really excites me about putting teams
Mm-hmm.
together, you know?
Well, this is where we want to dig in, I feel like, in order to get to that team trust,
Mm-hmm.
we have to make sure we have the right players on the bus,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because a big part of trust and allowing ourselves to show up as our whole selves, fully engaged, playing all out, is that we can trust that our teammates are actually doing the same and knowing and owning their role, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it, I think about hockey where I played on the best teams. It was because I knew I didn't have to like go and play other people's position
Right.
and pick up the slack.
Right.
So, yeah, let's just talk about that in terms of, yeah, the importance of really identifying consciously. And I'd love to hear about your process for this in terms of what those A players, need to
Mm-hmm.
possess so that you can actually create that cohesiveness, that team trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think again it comes back to like for me anyway, one of the indicators is like having the people in the right roles
Mm-hmm.
at the right time and in the right places, even strategically countries, right? It's like for me in a global company, it's super important servicing our stakeholders, time zones. Like I can't put somebody in Europe trying to serve somebody in the US, like they're going to be working all night. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's just so much to think about, right? So that's why I say places as well. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that, as just going through, like, I've been interviewing for the last 2 weeks, just kind of going through that. Um, I think consciously, like, I try to really, really kind of like follow my intuition, right? So drop
Mm-hmm.
into how I'm feeling about the person's energy.
Mm-hmm.
And are they here for the right reasons? Because people, in any time of change or any time apply for roles because I don't know, they're tired of their job, they see a job promotion, they think it's more money, they want to lead, they think they want to lead people because it comes with more money. And so like it's like figuring out, like, are they here for the right reasons? Are they really talking to me? Are they applying for this role because they really want to be on our team and they
Mm-hmm.
really believe in what we do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The intrinsic motivation, which is an
Yeah.
essential part of the flow state that a lot of people don't realize that extrinsic motivation doesn't do the trick.
And
It,
that's exactly what I've been talking about with some of the people, because some people are, and I admire that. Some people are super honest. Like they'll say, well, I'm no longer needed in my organization, so I need to find a job. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, let's unpack that a bit more because like I need to know like what you like about this job. Like what
Mhm.
did you like about your previous job? What didn't you like? And what do you think you like about this job? And what do
Mhm.
you think you won't like about it? And then because a lot of these roles are leadership roles, the other big question for me is like, do you prefer to work by yourself, like as an individual contributor, or do you actually like to lead and why?
Mhm.
Some
Great
people are
question.
like, I love when people say, I actually just like to be an individual contributor. I'm like, thank goodness for being open and
Mhm.
honest with me, right? Because I fully support that. Like, I want them to be intrinsically aligned with what they want to do and where they're going to be happiest,
Mhm.
And I tell them that, like, I'm so grateful you told me that because then let me find something that suits what you're looking for.
More
Because,
aligned.
yeah,
Mhm.
I don't want you to take a role where you don't even care about the people. You're just there because it's a job promotion and whatever. I don't go for that. I
No.
really try to kind of like peel back the onion with people to understand like why do you want to be part of this team? And why, if you're going to be a leader, why do you want to be a leader?
Mhm.
You
Great
know?
question.
And like, what do you like about leadership? And what's your leadership style? What would people say about you? If you
Mhm.
were a leader, what would you want to leave behind, like in terms of like impressions or legacy? And yeah, you always find out more about, you can really get a good sense of people that way. But I also need to really kind of really dig into my intuition in terms of like that's how I kind of have the best read on people, is like following how I feel about their energy. And there's some people you meet and you just, yeah, you don't feel it, right? And you're just like, yeah, it's just, and if it's like, for me, if it's like a middle, then I say no, because it
Mhm.
has to be a yes for me.
Mhm.
Because,
Mhm.
we talk about human design, but manifesting generator, it's all with my sacral. So it's like a yes or no. If I'm a then it means that someone really don't want to do it, or I really don't like it, or it's just, it's either yes or no for me. So when I meet people and if I like the engagement and I like the energy, like I know right away. If
Mhm.
these people are authentic, they're genuine, and they really want to be here, and they're going to be
Mhm.
great team players. And I can usually do that by asking very intentional questions
Mhm.
behind,
Mhm.
uh, to get them to kind of like tell me, how they show up in different situations, because there's a lot of high pressure situations, and I need to sometimes like understand how they would behave in those instances, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
I
So,
kind of use that to kind of get a gauge on, yeah, I like their energy and stuff, but then how are they going to show up in certain situations? And
mhm.
usually by doing all these different pieces, asking the right questions, following my intuition, reading the energy, the connection, the engagement, how I feel when I'm talking to the person,
Mhm.
if they're smiling, if they're not, if they look
Mhm.
unhappy, if they look grumpy, like there's just like a whole bunch of stuff that your body just kind of goes, yes, 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 or no, no, no. And you're just like,
Mhm.
okay. And I don't think people realize that. I think a lot of people like just think I'm just smart, therefore
Mhm.
I must get the job. There's no other option, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm just brilliant. I've done this for 20 years. I'm
yeah.
the only person, like I know how to do this. Yeah,
Hmm.
but there's so many other components as a
Oh,
leader
yeah.
that
Hmm.
I look for to create that high performing organization. It's not just about your book smarts. It's not about you did your MBA and you have or your electrical engineer. Nah, okay, interesting, good. But let's talk about leadership because that's what we're really talking about, right? And
Hmm.
so the self-awareness part, I think, is something that if anybody can take anything away, if you're looking for opportunities and interviewing, pay attention to what the interviewer is looking for, right? And the energy between you and them. And it will be important and it could give you signs one way or another that went well or didn't go well. You know, how many
Hmm.
people you ask, how'd that interview go? Oh, I killed it. And they didn't get the job. And you're like, what happened
And
there?
they're confused. But
Yeah.
that shows the disconnect or the
Yeah.
unconsciousness of that leader's experience, right? And this is why we talk about the importance of conscious leadership so much, especially right now, because if you're not aware of the energy that you're bringing into that room as a starting point, like influence is 93% nonverbal.
Right.
That's leadership 101,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, we understand that, yeah, it's not just lip service. It's only 7% is verbal in what we're saying. And
Right.
I think in an interview, especially at the highest levels, like you're probably barely paying attention to what they're telling you because you know that can be manipulated. Words can be manipulated, scripts can be formed. And that's not how you catch an authentic read on the human being that's actually sitting in front of you and whether or not they're actually in integrity, which is what I love so much about how you're putting all this emphasis on just sitting back and being fully present and engaged so that you can really dig into the non 93% of the other information that's flowing from them non-verbally.
Right.
Yeah, and your intuition is definitely going to cue that up, and you have such strong alignment in your self-trust that that is something that you now can use strategically to make sure that you are making the right and best decisions, which is something we always talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but self-awareness, unfortunately continues to be the biggest gap that we see in leadership. That
Yeah.
Tasha Eurich quote about 95% of us think we're highly self-aware and only 10 to 15% of us actually are statistically. And this is the thing that we just can no longer afford and why we're talking about conscious leadership so much on this show because it's just no longer going to fly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I hear some great strategies showing up on the plate already. I hear some of the things that you're looking for in terms of high self-awareness, right? And all of that in and around authenticity and integrity. I hear this in terms of values alignment, which
Mm-hmm.
is everything that we talk about in terms of self-leadership, right? And how we make sure that we're making the right and best decisions. What other indicators are you looking for when you're asking those situational, contextual questions and
Yeah.
how they behave?
Yeah. For me, a huge one, like, and it's always been huge, but I think it's even more right now, is adaptability and resilience
Mhm.
and openness. Because
Mhm.
I know, and things change so quickly. Decisions are being changed very quickly. We're pivoting fast and furious. And a lot of times there is a lot of people that actually don't adapt to that very well,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
they're very,
Resistant
made a
to
decision.
change.
This is the decision I
Mhm.
made. This is how I go. And then they're not able to pivot on the path because we've had a change in direction, the company's changing, strategy, whatever. They're not capable of like being able to step away and look at the bigger picture and pivot.
Mhm.
They get
Mhm.
stuck. When
Mhm.
they get stuck, it can be super disruptive to a team.
Mhm.
We end up dragging that person for
Mhm.
months until they actually give up. And
Mhm.
that's disruptive. It slows down the team dynamic. It slows down our rhythm as a team, right? And this, the things we're trying to achieve. So it's too costly
Mhm.
to like invest in that kind of like behavior or mindset. Like for me, it's like it's I can't. It's just too costly. It'll cost me too much time, and it can be super disruptive for the rest of the team. And
Yeah,
that
it's a sticky
that
wicket in your wheel in terms of disrupting your flow.
yeah, and disrupting everybody else's flow, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
you have a bad team member, everybody talks about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's so apparent. And people, again,
Mm-hmm.
self-awareness comes in here. Some people think they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like they slow down the pace of the team,
Mm-hmm. Of
right?
course.
And
Yeah.
so it's not worth it for me. So I really kind of look at like, are they able to flip, even if it's their idea, can they flip to somebody else's idea really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not asking them to like cut off or give up their firstborn. It's the strategy. Like there's tons of them. We just switch, right? All the
Mm-hmm.
time. We don't need to
Mm-hmm.
be married to any of them. It's
Mm-hmm.
business decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And but some people get really caught up in like being the smartest with their ego and kind of sticking the landing on wanting to like deliver something in a certain way. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it can be really challenging. I think it's something that if anybody, is kind of challenged with that or is aware that they have this problem, that's something
Fixed
that's worth,
mindset.
yeah, fixed mindset. Exactly. It's worth investing
Mm-hmm.
in doing the work there
Mm-hmm.
because this world, especially with AI coming in, you need to be able to move fast and
Ooh,
change direction and
yeah.
like be
It's
able to pivot.
not going to fly. It just
No,
it's this has become the new table stakes is what we're saying in our thesis on the show. And
yeah,
this is why, right? Is there's nothing worse than a puck hog on a team. It's a cancer in the
exactly.
dressing room is what we used to say in hockey. It's toxic behavior and there's a social contagion, like we just said, to the energy that we're bringing in the locker room every single day. And it's maybe surprising the power that one sticky wicket can have, but it absolutely cascades a ripple effect that
Oh,
will start to infect everybody else to some degree.
absolutely.
So no fixed mindsets showing up on the play. We got to have a growth mindset. That is the entry point into adaptability as well as high EQ. So if we don't have high self-awareness, we probably aren't getting to these other ones, but let's say we do. I
Yeah,
think that that's the other piece that we want to look at if we're really trying to ascertain the level of adaptability in that brain, right? So
yeah,
how do you test for high EQ? I'm curious.
yeah. I mean, well, I always ask like one good question I always kind of like ask is like, you know, I can ask like a situation of like, give an example of a situation, how would you behave that would
Hmm.
require somebody you could lead in two different ways, one with empathy or one from a top-down approach. And you can see right away the reaction of the person or how they would say, well, I prefer to act this way. This is how I would handle that situation. You can usually tell if they have like a strong EQ or not.
Hmm.
No, when I say to do something, that's what the team does. And,
Hmm.
I hold them accountable. And if they didn't deliver, I'd remove them from the project. You're just like, okay, then we're clear there. So there's no like emotional connection of like trying to support the person or having the other big thing is patience, like just being able to, coach people. That's a big thing for me too, is
Hmm.
supporting people because not everybody is at the same level. And I don't believe you can just jump into a job and people need to be at a certain level.
Hmm.
Everybody needs some coaching. The
Hmm.
difference between how much and how long and should you continue is are they open to it or not?
Hmm.
If the person's not open to it, then that's when you have to make a decision, yes or no, stay or go.
Hmm.
But if the person is open and can make progress quite quickly and effectively, that's amazing. Like that's what you want,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that this is obviously why we're talking about EQ in this context of adaptability, because EQ is what really tees up our ability to step into AQ. And if we have a fixed mindset, we're getting too attached to the outcomes and we're not trusting the process in the way that you just described, which is like oftentimes requires that we are actually able to work with other people's ideas, right? And able to run with other people's suggestions and feedback. And I think this is why this is so important is like this is what we look for in someone's coachability, right? And I just think like where do you go from there if there's not enough EQ to even get them to be receptive to that feedback?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why we talk about that in terms of the context of the growth mindset so much. But I also think in terms of, yeah, like really being able to not only bounce back, but bounce up and be able to find those opportunities for growth proactively.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is some of what I also think is definitely showing up on the play. When you're in an interview, you can see if there's like a natural inclination towards curiosity.
Yeah.
So even if you do ask a question and they're like, oh, interesting, like I've never really
Yeah.
thought of that before, and it's like,
Yeah.
again, amazing growth mindset. The expectation is not that you have every single perfect answer staged and prepared for me in this interview. I
Right.
just want to observe you and your process.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's like something that's very hard to fake, don't you? Like
Yeah.
curiosity. And that's the trick is like you can't be curious and judgmental at the same time. And
Right.
so that's like a deeper read in terms of what's really
Yes.
going on behind those gates because if it's judgment that gets triggered, not curiosity, then
Mm.
that's the resistance to the
Yeah.
feedback, right? And that's where people oftentimes are very hard to coach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but how do we find opportunities for growth if we don't have the ability to practice curiosity in the context of that co-creative exchange?
Exactly. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are some final tips and tricks or suggestions that you can leave our folks with? Because I know, again, this probably is speaking to a lot of folks right now, right? Is that they're trying to dig deep
Yeah.
consciously in terms of their consciousness training, and so that they can really make sure that no matter what happens, they don't have to hide out in fear, right? Like in anticipation of dreading something cataclysmic happening, but so that they can stay ready and curious in terms of whatever opportunities come along the way based on whatever adaptation is required, because whether or not you're getting displaced from a role, or it's just that the role has to change because business practices are changing, that also is going to require all of these skill sets that we're talking about. So, what are some final tips that you can leave with our leaders today, just in terms of how they can really start to consciously tee that up?
Yeah. Well, I think, regardless, like you said, if it's, changing jobs or looking for a change, or, I think if you're looking for a change, is just be honest about what connects with you and not, right? What are the things that I try to think, what job would make me happy every morning? What would I be doing, and try to imagine, but not just visually, but feel how you would feel in that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, what is the feeling you want? Excitement, or it could be like passion, or it could be like stress, like depending on what you like, you got to figure that out. And then try to write activities that kind of like make you feel like that in terms of,
Mm-hmm.
right? To try to really
Mm-hmm.
get clear on what is it you love to do every day. And that's really important because when you actually can have the opportunity to showcase that, you're going to shine in that interview, right? No matter what. And that energy that you have, that you bring into that interview or into a new role, is going to be very authentic and going to be hard to
Mm-hmm.
disrupt, right? So I think that, be very, very, very clear on what you like and what you don't like. And then I would say that the other thing is just be mindful of like how you're showing up. So, like, if you're going into an interview, be ready, be prepared. Like, that's another thing I noticed. Sometimes I had interviews and I was just like, I don't know if they read the job description.
No, no.
Very interesting. But like, be
Oh,
prepared. Like,
yeah.
take some time to like clean out your energy,
Hmm.
your frequency, come in ready, have prepared some questions that you think and somebody might ask you about a role. And like, it doesn't have to be scripted, but have like a prep in mind around what direction you want to go in and what is it you want to
Hmm.
showcase in that interview, right? And it
Hmm.
could be,
Hmm.
some of it could be your enthusiasm, some of it can be like your ability to do the job, but it has to be a combination of everything. Like, you can't go in like hum and dumb and I'm having a bad day. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm the interviewer. I'm looking for passion and excitement. You need to show up.
Hmm.
Right. And that's when that self-awareness comes in. So just like spend a bit of time like cleaning up any energy that you need to, and be excited. If you're applying for a job, you should be pretty excited about it. And I don't mean you
Hmm.
need to do cartwheels, but be passionate and do their prep work and show up in the best version of yourself for that half
Hmm.
hour that you need to, right? The other thing, as I would say, is just be honest. with yourself, but also with the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, I think it's a mistake for both if you're not.
Mm-hmm.
You may end up in something you don't want to do, which is not
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
You have to trust the process and know that there's something else out there if that's not the one,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's just a master class on conscious leadership right there. And why self-awareness is so important. Because if we have not taken the time to do that deep excavation in terms of our bag of tricks, in terms of the value that we actually have to contribute to the team, right? Or doing that deep excavation in terms of what lights us up, in terms of those values, then you're not going to be able to demonstrate that flow state that Tracy says she's just locking in, dropping down in her skates to catch a read on intuitively. But that energy don't lie. When somebody's talking about these things from the intellectual standpoint alone, and the energy isn't matching and meeting them in terms of what it is that they're saying they're passionate about, then any conscious leader is going to be able to feel that that person is out of integrity. They're out of alignment with what they're saying. So I feel like that's the biggest tee up in terms of where we all need to be right now, is that we need to be deep in our expertise in
Mm-hmm.
terms of that alignment, right? That we obviously are going to be looking for no matter how we have to shift or change or adapt, because we have to be the expert in us.
Mm-hmm.
I love this interview so much. I know it's going to serve our folks right about now. I'm definitely feeling this in the trenches. And I actually think it's kind of an exciting time, because it gets us to this place of conscious leadership and the requirements that we talk about on the show all the time.
Yep.
So, for everybody else out there listening, please leave us your feedback and let us know if we, in fact, have our finger on the pulse. What is it that you're experiencing in your trenches right now? And yeah, we'd love to hear your feedback just in terms of some of the other places that you'd like us to go in our expertise so we can show up in service to that consciously in our impact game. For all other inquiries in regards to all the exciting conscious leadership programs and coaching that we got going on at Team Elite, you can find that on over at the website, elitehighperformance.com. And please don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out the locker room door. We're so grateful that you tuned in, and we'll see you all next week.